Hi guys, Colleen here and welcome back to my channel. Now in my last video I would have spoken about the 5 things you learn when you start a sketchbook practice, and these are 5 things that really helped me when I started to develop my sketchbook practice, and I'm still learning and I'm still trying to be consistent. But in today's video I'm actually going to show you the results since starting my sketchbook practice, which is the completed sketchbook and a sketchbook tour. So stay tuned. So this is my sketchbook. It is 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and it is 140-pound paper. It's kind of like a combination of hot press and cold press textures. So let's get started. So on the first page, I decided to do a sketch that basically describes what is inside the sketchbook. So I have air, sea, and landscapes. But in hindsight, I realized that we don't say airscapes, do we? We actually say skyscapes. So I put this little note, sky, duh, as a reminder to myself next time I try to do this. And for each word, I just wanted to do some icons that represented each aspect. And well, you see the clouds, the foliage and stuff, and the representation of water. And the other thing I did, let me zoom in again, is put the dates that I started the sketchbook. It probably won't be too clear, but I'll just say it was the 30th of May 2022, and I completed the sketchbook on the 14th of March 2023. So on to the first page. This is actually from a photo I took of some cows grazing at the side of the road. I never really painted animals before, but I really wanted to just try my hand at it, especially just the fact that it was a black and white cow. And what I decided to do with this sketchbook, in a lot of cases, you'll see I did some notes to the side, which is just like reminders to myself of the colors that I used to depict certain parts, as well in the event that I actually want to make this bigger and I need to remember what colors I used. The next page is actually a 2-page spread, because I see people do the 2-page and I find it looks so cool, so I decided to try my hand at it. And this was actually the first painting I did in the sketchbook, and this was the second, because I really wanted to do this first. And I really love how the mountain range came out in this side of the paper on this page was more of a hot press, so it really lent itself well to how the colors bled together. And I wanted to capture another scene of animals grazing, just based on an artist that I admire, Joseph Zbovich, I think is his name. Probably butchered that. But yeah, it was seeing his paintings of animals grazing that inspired me to find something similar here and see if I could get it done. And I actually did a larger version of this, but I really didn't like how it came out because the paper was different to this, and I really didn't get this effect, as well as the foreground as well was kind of messed up. So yeah. The next is this image of a bird at the Wildfowl Trust that was just perched on this pipe against the green water of the pond. And I really like the contrast with the bird against the green, as well as the rusted and weathered kind of, well, the pipe used to be kind of red before, but now it's faded. And I wanted to just capture that to see if I could get the reflections in the water. And this next sketch is 2 boats in a fishing village in central Trinidad, where it was an overcast day, and because of the rain I really couldn't get to take as much photos, but I really wanted to snap this because this color of a boat, you don't really see too much colorful boats, like based on just the little places that I went. So this is really what made me want to capture this. And in this time around I decided to do color swatches of the colors used in the painting, so you will also see, you actually see more of these going forward, because I stopped doing the combinations that I used to depict a particular color. At least I'll know all the colors that I used, and it's just a matter of me trying to figure it out again. So moving on to a 2-page spread of this road. This is actually the road that led to the jetty, the fishing jetty, I would call it. So this gas station actually saved my life one morning on my way to work, where my gas light came on, and I usually take like alternative routes, and there was no gas station on that alternative route, so I had to go off of that route in order to find this. And I really liked the fact that it just seemed so weird to have this lonely gas station kind of perched in the middle of nowhere, even though it, in hindsight, is right by the fishing village, which the fishermen will need, because the fishing depot is actually on the opposite side of the gas station. But it just looks so interesting, and I really liked the complementary colors, the red and the green of the gas station logo and stuff. And that day I went, like I said, with the boats in the previous sketch. It was an overcast day, so this road was actually wet, and I just really liked it. This is from a different fishing village that I visited, and it was just like a really simple scene with the shadow of the boat on the grass, because it was on the shore. And I just wanted to capture that little thing. Again, I did the little color swatches, and this is actually from the same beach. And this was also a scene I always wanted to capture with the religious flags that certain groups use in that they put into the water. And this little dilapidated boat that was on the side here with the hole, so you were seeing like the inside with the sunlight coming through. And yeah, just something simple to convey the scene, but also get like little elements of things that I always wanted to capture. These are actually some experiments with galaxy paintings. Let me zoom out, because I've done some galaxy paintings before, but I just wanted to use the opportunity of the sketchbook, going with the skyscapes aspects of it, to test my hand out, just using some different colors and techniques to get that done. So this was just using one color. This was actually the first galaxy that I did in the sketchbook, which wasn't successful at all, because the colors were a little too light, and I really didn't go back in to deepen anything. But this was 3 colors, as you see here, and the next 2 pages are also galaxy paintings, where I did more reds and yellows and oranges. And this one was more like it reminds me of a really nice dreamy type of scene. So the greens and yellows with the dark of the sky. This was just like a fun little experiment to not take things too serious, but also have some fun with watercolor. This next double page is from a tutorial from a watercolor artist on Instagram. So it was just like an underwater seaweed forest. I think it was underwater kelp forest, yeah, tutorial. And it was just 5 colors that we used, and this was really fun to do, to play with like the washes of color and stuff and see how they bleed into each other, and use my longer brushes to get those brush strokes and actually control it to see how that works. So this was nice. And these are just some other tutorials from that artist. So it's just experimenting with, again, the bleeding of the colors into one another. But this was like the rougher, like cold pressed surface. And I didn't really clean up the edges and stuff too great on this, so that's why all these edges kind of dark. But it was fun using colors that I don't normally use, but I have in my paint stash, to just experiment and do fun things. And this was another underwater scene of a whale, I believe. But the blues for me just didn't really do it, because this was actually more of a granulating blue. And I didn't really like the effect that that blue gave me. So I should have actually used something else. And I wanted to do it over, I just didn't. And this is another tutorial from that artist, the underwater, I guess I could call it an underwater, like kind of like a landscapey scene with some stingrays, like the ridges of like mountains and stuff. It reminds me kind of like a Disney type movie, where one of those underwater based movies. So you see how deep the sea is, but you also see the different layers and aspects of the sea. And these sea plants, I guess, were actually done in gouache, but at that point in time I only had one shade of gouache, which was white, so I just mixed a little bit of the white gouache with my watercolor, but thicker, to help get these different colors here. And I really like this. All the tiny fish. Yeah, this was fun. And next up, I think it's the last tutorial I did from her. Again, experimenting with the color blending and the mountain scene. I didn't really like, this wasn't too successful for me, but I again liked playing with these different color combinations that I don't usually use. Next up, I have a sketch I did from a road trip to a beach in Togo. And it was just as the sun was setting, as you could see, and I really wanted to try to use techniques that I would have used in the previous tutorials to try to get the skies done more successfully with the sunset scene, since it was mostly about the sky, and just have a little fun with that. And I really like how the colors and stuff came out. Yeah, this was nice. And again, the color swatch reference. So I think a couple of these pages going forward will be from that beach scene, like this one. This was a really interesting boat color. Again, I don't really see much of these colorful boats. I usually see blue and white. So I wanted to get this boat. It was a little tricky. It was very tricky to get the boat at the angle on this paper because it was like a double page I was trying to get it on. And yeah, but I just wanted to capture it regardless of if it was successful or not. So that was that painting. And this is another boat that was on the shore. So as I mentioned, you usually see blue and white boats. And I really like the scene of this boat because I took the photo from a much lower angle. So the boat was like more towering over you. So I wanted to capture that effect. And just a little how the trees kind of peeked out to the back. And I just modified this part of the background a little bit to make it a little more interesting and have the boat be the subject of the picture, the painting, sorry, without too much distractions in the background. And the next up is something I usually don't paint, which is modern buildings. And this is a building in Port of Spain for the trainees looking, the waterfront complex. And I usually don't paint this, as I said, but I really like the glass and I wanted to see if I could capture the different variations of blue because there were so many in the glass. And initially for this sketch, I actually wanted to capture the buildings against a sunset scene to have that contrast between the blues and the oranges and pinks of the sky. So I could have hopefully gotten like these kinds of colors, but I will have to see if I could do that another day. But I liked how this came out. And this, I think these next couple of pages are double pages. So this was just another scene at the waterfront where this building is located like basically opposite the building on the water. I think it's a tugboat. I really like painting tires and I just wanted to capture this big thing. And this was more, the boat itself was much more technical than, these other plain boats. So that was a bit of a challenge for me getting the little details and stuff. But it was nice to do something different. This is from another road trip. My color swatches at the top. Just a roadway scene. Because I had this picture for some years. A lot of these pictures I would have had some years now, but I always wanted to do something with not necessarily final. But and when I started to use the sketchbook, I realized this is the perfect place to just get it done and just play around, experiments and stuff, not take anything too seriously. So I figured, let me pull out this picture and this is the perfect place for it. Next is this drone's view cityscape scene, I call it, of San Fernando, Trinidad. This is the San Fernando Hill in the mid distance, I guess. And with this one, I really wanted to not paint as detailed as I usually would. Like I would try to get every single house, and that was just too much. So I wanted to paint a little looser and basically have the viewer, as they say, fill in the gaps. I really liked the sky of this because the photo itself, the original photo, wasn't with such a dramatic sky. So I manipulated the photo a little bit, and this was the effect that the sky turn into. So I really liked this against the greens and stuff in the foreground. And I would like to do this bigger. So the only unfortunate thing is I did not, as you can see, do any little swatch reference. So I'll have to figure it out all over again. But we'll get it done. This next one is based on a painting that I actually completed first, a large piece, but I wanted to bring it into the sketchbook just so I could kind of have a record of it in here. But in this case, I decided when bringing it into the sketchbook to do a much different version of it, because I have several different versions of these sketches for that large painting, which I will do in another video. But this was really just the experiment with color with this piece, because when you see the video on how many things I did to try to experiment on the smaller pieces in order to get the large piece right, yeah, you'll see. I kind of got obsessed with this this scene, but I did do a swatch reference here. And this is another sketch that I did after the fact, after I did the larger piece. It is of San Carlos Plaza in San Fernando. And this one I just really wanted to do as loose as possible. And I could have done a little more, but it was really frustrating to do because I didn't really like how the kind of tunnel came out. And I painted this first, so just kind of let's just get it done. This is another scene from the Wildfall Trust where I would have initially painted this bird. It's just some lily pads on the water, and I wanted to see if I could get it done, one, because there are some droplets on the lily pads. I wanted to play around with that, like here and all over really, and I wanted to try my hand at the water with the lily pads on it, but I did more of a looser approach with the water, especially at the top here. Oh shit, I shook my camera. And of course I did a little swatch reference because I kind of want to do this a little bigger, not huge, but I needed to, for sure, know what colors I used. And these next couple of pages are scenes from the Wildfall Trust, but more focused on the lily pads of the pond, for those of you that know the Wildfall Trust. So this one is some sunlit lily pads. Lily pads, no, water lily. Well, it's the same thing, water lily leaves above the water. And I really wanted to try to capture the effect of the sun shining on the leaves. So this was really my focus with this piece, and trying to edit out the things that didn't necessarily need to be there. So this was the final result of that. And this was a water lily flower that's with a very blurred out of focus background. So my camera died. I had to wait a little while to get back some charge. And I'm actually almost done. So this was, like I said, water lily flower set against a blurred background with some pods in the foreground. And this one, zoom out, is a underwater lily pad forest. It was from a video that I actually saw on Instagram, and I just decided to take a screenshot of it because I really liked how dreamy the scene itself looked. And just from doing the previous tutorials with that underwater type effect with the bleeding of the colors and stuff, I was just like, this is the perfect scene to get that done. And yeah, this was the result. I really liked it. This part in particular, I was really surprised how it came out because it was just so very simple but effective in terms of getting some depth in the flow of whether it's the sea or a pond or something. So this was really nice. And this one is from a road trip again with some crab vendors. And I usually love to paint weathered things, and just seeing this sign was really interesting thing to me because of the colors that the original colors. I think it was maybe it should be the blue, and just the effect of the weather and stuff on it because it's the vendors are by next to a river. They just basically out in the open and just looking at the effects of the weather on the sign with the colors and stuff. it was too good to pass up and not put into the sketchbook. And this one, I guess, out of all the paintings in this book, or the sketches in this book, this one is totally different because it's more of like, signage and stuff. So yeah, I really like that difference too. But it also served as the introduction to the next sketch, which are the blue crabs themselves. And my desire to paint the blue crabs was actually from seeing a painting by Jackie Hinkson, a master watercolor artist in Trinidad, and I did this small workshop with him where he brought that painting to show us some of his work, and I just really loved. He did purple crabs though, but I loved how the watercolors lend themselves nicely to capturing like the smoothness of the crab backs and stuff. But they were set out differently. They weren't bound and stuff, and yeah, it was like if I ever see or if I ever decide to stop by the crab vendors, I have to paint one, and this is the result. But I really love how when you look at the overall pages in this part, it one introduces the other. And the second to last sketch is just a simple scene to kind of symbolize the winding down or the closing of the sketchbook. So it was a sunset scene by my friend's house, and I was just sitting outside a day, and I was just like, this is actually a nice scene to just take a photo of and put into the sketchbook. So I decided to just capture that and also employ the same kind of wash techniques with the what you call it, the graduation of colors, but kind of like in the opposite way, because usually in the seascapes, like this one, it would be from dark to light, but this one was dark to light the opposite way, and that was just something I wanted to challenge myself with as well. And finally, this is, I would call it like an experimental scene, like using the fantasy type colors of some of the previous tutorials. But I wanted to do this because I also kind of want to do some fantasy type things, but using local scenery. And this was just like a first shot at it, using the Caroni Plains with the field. I don't know the name of that road, but yeah, I wanted to try it with this scene since it was pretty simple in terms of composition, and that was it. So that's the last page of the sketchbook, and I really hope you all enjoyed watching my attempt at finally doing these types of things that I should have been doing for some time. And let me know as well, what was your favorite piece from the sketchbook? So that was it for my sketchbook tour. I really hope you all enjoyed looking at my seascapes, landscapes, and skyscapes that I put into this. It was really an exploration of just whatever interested me at that point in time, whether it was from a photo of me visiting a site or just seeing a tutorial of some technique that I wanted to try. I decided to put it all in here. And I thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you can leave a comment to let me know what you think. Feel free to also like, subscribe, and share, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye guys.